Welcome to Literary Libations with Librarians. And this week we are going to be sharing Books for a Broken Heart because February is National Mend a Broken Heart Month. So as we share our titles, they will appear on your screen. And also with each title will be a list of the various formats that they're available in through the Monroe County Library System. If you'd like to get your hands on any of these titles, the quickest way is probably to call your local branch of the Monroe County Library System and speak to the staff there, and they'll be more than happy to assist you. If you'd like to do it on your own, you can request physical copies like hardcovers, paperbacks, and more through our online catalog, and that web address is on your screen now. Some of the titles are available in digital formats, downloadable ebooks and audiobooks, and the Monroe County Library System provides two platforms for that. The first is Overdrive, which you may also hear referred to as Libby, as that is the name of Overdrive's app, and you can search for that in your app store. And the second is Hoopla. And Hoopla is excellent because there's never a wait for anything that you see on Hoopla. If it's on the platform, you can download it and start listening or reading immediately. So my name is Jennifer Graneski, and I am the community librarian at the Dundee Branch Library. And this week, since we're talking about mending broken hearts, our question for our introduction this week is, what activity has helped you mend a broken heart? And I would say the first activity that I immediately turn to when my heart is broken is eating. I'm not sure that that actually mends anything, but it's what I do. I think the two activities that actually help, the first, getting outside. And even if it's a day like today and you can only take a step outside, getting a deep breath of fresh air helps me if I'm having a hard time. I need that fresh air. The second one is to talk about it. When you're ready, find somebody that you know is going to have an empathetic ear and start talking and start saying, hey, this is what's happening, this is what's hurting. And it really helps if the person that you talk to, if you tell them what you need first. I have learned this over the years. Do you need comfort or do you need problem solving? Because the person you go to might be ready to give you all sorts of solutions, and what you really need is just comfort. Or you might really be wanting solutions and they're giving you comfort. So I have found that to be helpful too when I'm having conversations about things that are tough for me, that the person that I talk to knows what I'm really looking for in that conversation. So those are the activities that have helped me through a broken heart. Also with us this week is Jen McCarty, who is a reference librarian at the Ellis branch. And what activities have helped you through a broken heart, Jen?
Well, I'm pretty fortunate in, like romantic broken heart whatnots. My husband and I have been together since I was about 19. So, most of my romantic broken hearts were, high school. So not super complicated. But the things for other kinds of broken hearts, loss, grief, those sorts of things. The biggest thing for me is, aside from food, because I'm a super emotional eater, reading, pure escapism. And I especially like things that are either like books I've already read or books by authors I have read before. I like that sort of comfort and like, I know what I'm getting myself into. And I feel like that just pure escapism of like reading a really good book, getting away from my own brain and feelings and emotions and letting somebody else's feelings and emotions stay in there for a few minutes. It kind of helps me deal with my own stuff in that way. So I would say for me, reading is a really big one.
I second that. Just that escape, to escape your own brain. I liked how you worded that. That's sometimes what we need. Thanks, Jen. Also with us this week is Stephanie Winterstein, who is Youth Services at Ida and the Summerfield Petersburg branches. And what activity has helped you mend a broken heart, Stephanie?
Well, there's a couple. First of all, kind of like you said, talking to somebody. Usually I have a close group of friends, and, the nice thing about them is we can give it to each other straight. We can either be like, oh, I'm so sorry for you, or gosh, she's a jerk, or they know what we need in that situation. Like we all just we just know each other well enough to know, what's needed at the time. And that's always helpful. And then you feel better for talking about it. But the other thing for me, which may sound strange, is I like to run. I like to put on my headphones and just go running, and I can clear my head. I don't have to be at home and listen to kids fighting over silly stuff, or, it's just kind of my escape. I can just run as long as I want and then sort things out in my head and then come back and things seem a little clearer. Especially, when you really are feeling lost and you don't quite know, you're sad and, your heart's broken. And especially after I went through a divorce, and after that was like my one thing that I could just do, and everything was right when I came back. So I don't know, that's my thing.
Thank you, Stephanie. I am not a runner, but I have heard that from other runners that again, it's kind of escaping your own brain. It's letting you think through things that you need to while you're also focused on your body at the same time and being present there. Thank you. Also with us this week is Sarah Wilarius, who is a sub throughout the entire Monroe County Library system, and I think has worked at nearly every branch now. And what activity do you do to mend your broken heart, Sarah?
I like to bake. I'm definitely an emotional eater, but I like to put on headphones and just bake. I just recently got into exercising again, so I can relate with Stephanie with running, but no, I'm not a good, let's go out and run. I'd rather ride my bike, but it's definitely music for me. I have to have music to get over, to do stuff. Whether it's the sappy and you're crying along with it, the country, or you're I remember Jody saying one time she went to the grocery store, they walked in and they were playing Guns N' Roses, Welcome to the Jungle. So, I mean, if we're jamming to that or we're doing, hard rock, it's definitely music for me.
Music can change the atmosphere. And I don't always think of that. I'm not a musical person. I tend to be super boring and listen to a lot of NPR. So I don't always think to change my radio to something that is not news and switch it to music. So
I worry about my kids sometimes because I make them listen to NPR in the car. And I'm like, you're going to be the nerdiest children. You're going to go to school and be like, oh, what's your favorite music? Music, what's that?
Music? Yeah. Yeah.
My kids know show tunes and NPR.
Yep. Tony's kind of on that wavelength, although now that he's hitting junior high, he's developing his own taste. So thank you, Sarah. And also with us this week is Jody Russ, the community librarian at the Bedford Library. And what activity do you do to mend a broken heart, Jody?
Well, music's definitely huge. I'm glad Sarah reminded me of that. Welcome to the Jungle was our theme song last week here at the Bedford branch, as a matter of fact. I listen to a lot of Elton John when I'm feeling like I need to pick me up, because he has such a wonderful mix of easy listening and then more upbeat kind of stuff. And so if I just play the Amazon Elton John channel, it'll do a little something for me in a lot of different ways. CCR is also one of the things I listen to when I'm feeling like I need to pick me up. But I guess the last time I had I've been married for 29 years, broken heart, I don't know. 29 glorious years. Don't forget that. Probably when my son didn't make the baseball team as a junior was the last time that I know that it was like rough, because he had been was always on the team from the time he was 6. And it was, one of those political kinds of things to not make the team as a junior. And so we ran away. We went on vacation. Haven't had a spring break vacation with my kids ever, because he's played baseball always, which you don't go away for spring break when you're a baseball player. So my lovely mother rented a house down on the Outer Banks in North Carolina for the entire family, and there were like 16 of us that went on spring break. So, a good getaway is always good. But
it's a good memory. It's turning something negative into a positive memory too.
Yeah.
Nice. That's amazing. I like that.
If only my mother would get us a beach house, you know.
all
I'm
the
just a
time.
little heartbroken, Mom. Can we get in there? Like,
Does she need more
Like-
children?
I actually, yeah, she might. I actually
She adopted me,
remember
please.
even going on that
Or-
vacation though, if we would drive through a town and go by a ball field and there were kids out there warming up, like I couldn't even look. It was just terrible. It was so, yeah, it was just devastating. So anyway, all that's over with.
Thank you, Jody.
Mhm.
And to kick us off with the books that might be able to help mend a broken heart, let's have Stephanie get us started.
I always get to go first. I don't know how I'm so lucky.
I just keep looking at you. You're on the upper right of my screen. So
Okay, so my books are polar opposites of each other. In fact, I don't think they could be more opposite of each other. The first one, I don't know if my slides, oh, there we go. My slide's coming up. The first one is Wild by Cheryl Strayed. Now, usually I tell people to read the book first and then watch the movie because the book is always better. But in this situation, I happened to see the movie and I really enjoyed it. So I was inspired to read the book. And it was even better than I had thought. It's basically about Cheryl Strayed. She wrote it about herself. She was 26 when she decided to do this, but she decided to hike of course, now I'm losing my train of thought with when she decided to hike the Pacific Crest Trail. That's what it is. So she decided to hike the Pacific Crest Trail after going through a divorce, and she also lost her mother to cancer. So she just needed a change. She needed a way to escape, and so she packed up and put a backpack on, had boots that were too small, and took off on her own for 1,100 miles. I can't even fathom that. I'm afraid to go to the mailbox alone at night when it's dark because the boogeyman might get me, or go to the basement and leave the light on or without the light on. But I just think that's amazing. But through all of the different experiences that she had, she was attacked by a rattlesnake and she came across a bear and trying to find fresh water and just all those things that she had to, she sort of found herself. She learned to deal with her grief. And, it's also really, there's some humor in it, which I really found fun. But it's kind of like somebody who like inspires me, but would, maybe I want to be like her best friend because maybe she'd get me out of my comfort zone a little bit. But it was just a good read, if you are feeling, really down and you just need some inspiration, like everything is going to be okay. So I really enjoyed that. I recommend it. It's an easy read, and then watch the movie because then you can compare. But now my second book is the exact opposite of that. It has no inspirational value whatsoever. And I'm pretty embarrassed to even admit it, but not so much anymore. I feel like I've kind of outgrown it. But back in the day, I was a Bachelor fan. I would watch all of the Bachelor, Bachelorette, Bachelor in Paradise. I knew all the contestants. I followed them on Instagram. Like, I had a problem. So, I don't know why. I think part of it was because it was supposed to be sort of real life, like these are real people, and but of course it wasn't, and you could tell that it was all scripted. Now that I'm a little older, I see that. But one of the Bachelorettes wrote a book about herself called "It's Not Okay: Turning Heartbreak into Happily Never After," and I just found it humorous. Like, there's stories of like what actually goes on behind the cameras. Some of the stories about, I guess she was the Bachelorette once and then she, I don't know, dated somebody else later. But just the stories about the people that she dated and the kind of people they were. It's like, okay, my life is really not so bad. Maybe, I didn't fall in love with someone in 2 months and have these lavish, dates and, this fairy tale stuff. But these people are kind of, they're a little bit out there, and my life is pretty gosh darn good, and I don't need anyone right now. I think I'll just be happy with who I am. So I don't know if you are a fan of the show. I encourage you to check it out. Like I said, especially, I don't know, for a long time I did. And I think I got to a point maybe when I hit 40 that I was like, these kids are crazy. Like, why would you? I could just see through it all now. So it's a little more entertaining. But, so if you, like I said, if you're a fan at all, if you ever, want to feel better about yourself, check it out.
As a person who still watches The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, I can second all of that.
Yeah.
And I will say that watching it now,
Yeah.
I'm watching it as a parent.
Yes.
And I sit there and I'm like, these people need their moms with them.
Exactly.
Like, they have bad pickers, like, because you're sitting there watching it, and I know it's edited and everything, but I'm like, listen, they're not for you. They are not into you. Like, they're literally leaning away from you when you're leaning in to get a kiss from them. Like, they are not into you. Someone needs to tell you that.
So many red flags. Like, now I'm like,
so many. No, you need to say bye-bye to that person. Now, this person over here, particularly one of the things as an older adultish person that I notice is what their job is. This person over here is a chemical engineer. I don't know what they're doing on The Bachelor because they seem like they got a good job. But pick that person.
Right.
And listen, in the current season, there's a beautiful woman who's a pharmacist. She's amazing. And The Bachelor's not giving her any attention. Like, listen, Bachelor, you need your mom there going, that one. She's drama-free. She's got a good job. She's got a good head on her shoulder. Go for that one. But I watch because they never do. And then I can shout at the TV and go.
Well, and that's, I don't watch religiously like I used to. But my favorite one of the franchise is Bachelor in Paradise, and I haven't had it the last couple of years. Well, this last year because of COVID, but that was my favorite. I felt like there was the most like success stories in that. And so every time it comes on, my husband was like, "Oh, your show's on." He hates the show because he feels like, he's not romantic, but he feels like, yeah, if that's what you're looking for, like, forget it. So, it's just not my, I see through it now.
Right. And at this point, like, my husband looks at me and he's like, why do you watch this? I was like, I don't know. I can turn my brain off.
Exactly.
Like, I know it's stupid.
No, thank you.
But I absolutely don't have to think at all, except all of these people need a mother.
Exactly.
Next to them the whole time.
And I have an
reality show, Bachelor with Moms.
Yeah. I have an 18-year-old upstairs and I'm like, oh my gosh, she can almost go on this show. This is just wrong. Like, it's that's kind of when I had to start tuning out because I don't want to think about her friends that age.
Here's what not to do.
Right. Exactly.
Have you guys seen that show on TV? I think it was the behind the scenes of the Bachelor. I can't remember the name of it, but they actually showed you how each person has a producer and how they push them and give them alcohol to get them to do the things they want to do for taping.
Yeah, reality TV is highly edited.
Not reality.
No, it's not reality. And when you sign up, this was the crazy thing in their contract, and then I'll stop talking about reality TV because clearly I have an issue. But in the contract, when you sign up for those shows, you sign away your rights for basically how you are represented. You sign and say you may be falsely represented, and you agree to that.
That is
like
crazy.
They can't put words in your mouth, but they can edit it in such a way that it's false. That's not how it happened, but you sign that away. But you'll get Instagram followers.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. I will stop.
Check out the book.
Stephanie. I was super excited when I saw that book. I have not read it, but I know who Andy is. So I was like,
it's one of my favorites. Like,
yes. Thank you. Let's have Sarah share her books for a broken heart next.
All right. I don't know which one is first. Oh, 10 Blind Dates. This is a YA book. This one was hilarious, so funny. So it is kind of a Christmas book. So I got it on the tail end of, I just finished it about the middle of January. So this is about a girl in high school. She's a junior or senior. So she's been dating this guy for a year, and her sister is having a baby a couple hours away, and her parents are going because her sister has preeclampsia, and they need to go and help and be with her because she's bedridden. So she talks her parents into staying back with the rest of the family because she's Italian and has this huge family that all gets together. She's like, Mom, I'll go stay with Nana. Like, no problem. Her mom's like, I don't think so. Her dad's like, what about that boyfriend? I don't want him over. She's like, he won't. He's not coming over. So she goes to the end of the school party that everyone gets together, and she overhears him saying, I cannot believe she stayed. Why did she not go away for Christmas break? I need a break. I want to break it off. I don't want to be around her. So her heart is completely broken. So her parents are gone. She's at home. So she goes to Nana's, and she packs up everything. She goes, she's on the front porch crying, and Nana opens up the door, was like, what did Nana's do? Come on, honey, we'll feed you. We will cook whatever you want. So they have all this food going on. So Nana's like, the only way you're going to get over this boy is if you get out of the house and go date other boys and show him on all that social media crap that you kids are addicted to, how much fun you're having and make him miss you. So her family sets her up on 10 blind dates. So and then it's all posted. So they have no idea who she's going out with or where they're going. They just tell her the time and what to wear. And then she finds out later in the story, there's side bets on how long the dates are going to last.
Sounds like the Bachelor.
Yes. But it was a good, clean YA book. There was no cussing. There was no sex scenes in it. You know, there was just some, you were like, oh my God. But then they were like, oh, well, then she would like back out of it because some of her dates are just crazy. One, she was dressed up as in a live nativity scene because the person backed out. So her aunt was like, well, we got someone. So she put the time on the board and told her where to go. One, she left him in 10 minutes and came home. That's what started the betting on the side because she was like, you set me up with a 12-year-old? A 12-year-old. Like, so yeah, so there's some like but it was funny, but it was relatable because, you know, she is at home crying and then she's like, oh, well, now I'm having fun. Well, you know, when they see you're having fun, they always come back. So now in the book, she's trying to figure out, does he really like me? Does he not like me? So it's really good because then she connects with all her cousins and her family. But I loved it. I thought it was so funny and so cute that I was like, oh, her family really loves her, that they're like, we're going to pull you out of this. He wasn't worth it anyways.
That's a good family for you.
Yeah. And then my other book is How to Walk Away. This one is a must read for I feel for anybody. And I know we have it everywhere in the system. There's every form that you want it, you can have it, this book. But this one is about a girl who is in with this she thinks she wants him to be her husband. She wants him to propose and be her fiance so bad. She loves him. Well, he sets up to propose. He's going to be a pilot, doesn't quite have his pilot's license. So takes her flying, talks her into it. She's scared to death of airplanes, but he talks her into this prop plane that he is. I only have a couple hours left. Like, let's just go up and we'll do like a quick tour. You can see the water and the pretty oceans, and then we'll come back down. She's like, isn't there rain in the forecast? No, it's fine. We're only going to be gone like an hour. Well, no, it isn't fine. And there's a huge accident that happens. And she doesn't remember it, but wakes up in the hospital and somebody has to tell her that the plane crashed, you are burned, and oh, by the way, you're no longer engaged. He's walked away, and now you have to like rehabilitate yourself. And she's been in a coma for so long, like she lost her apartment, she lost her cool job. They're like, oh, and you have to move back home with mom and dad. So this book is like perseverance on how she mends her broken heart, how she recovers, how she gets over it, how she makes, because they walk her all through PT. She's going through all kinds of therapy. So this one was a good, like, good feel, make you feel good, empowerment. Like, man, this woman, if she can do it, then yeah, I can do it too, kind of book. But it was really good. There was a sweet ending at the end, and she gets the guy back, and It's really cool.
Nice. I had not heard of this author, and it looks like she's got quite a few books out there. So
Yeah.
it's always good to hear of a new author.
She's really popular.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah. And let's have Jen share her books for a broken heart next.
Okay. Kind of like Stephanie's, mine are very, very different. So we'll start with the light one first. The first one that I chose is My Not So Perfect Life by Sophie Kinsella. She's probably most popular for having written the Shopaholic series. Those were like super popular for a while. But I picked this book because it's really light, it's funny, and it's you know, there's a little bit of a romance, but that's not the focal point of the book. So this book follows Katie, or Kat, and Katie is a farm girl. She grew up on a farm, but all she's ever wanted to do was live in London and be a big city London girl. And she's got this great job in branding, and it's fantastic. And she's changed her name to Kat, and she straightens her hair, and she learned how to do the perfect flicked eyeliner, and her life is just finally starting. But her life kind of sucks. Like, her job is demanding, her boss is a nightmare, her commute is super long, she's broke, but she curates her Instagram to make everything look fabulous. There's a whole, like, she talks about at one point, like, walking by a cafe and waiting for someone to go to the bathroom so she could, like, snap a picture of their hot chocolate and then post it, and it's like, hot chocolate. Like, I didn't say that I was drinking it, but it's really pretty. Like, she does that kind of stuff. Like, she takes these pictures of things that she's walking through going, gosh, I wish I could afford to stop into that fancy restaurant. But of course, her life starts to kind of fall apart. The job is not great. She ends up kind of going back to the farm in Somerset, and her nightmare of a boss ends up coming there. Kat's dad, Katie's dad, has started a glamping business, and all of a sudden her boss shows up, and now she's got to deal with this thing. But what I love about this book, and why I think it'd be good for a broken heart, is it's light, it's funny, and the biggest thing is Katie learning to just be Katie. Learning that she doesn't have to straighten her hair and go by Kat and learn the perfect flicked eyeliner. Like, she finally realizes that she can have all the things that she wants and still be her. And, you know, and be true to herself. And there's, of course, a boy in it, and he's cute and adorable. But even that, she's like, she's not chasing him. It's very much like, I like this guy, but this is, whatever happens, happens. And I just really liked that approach to it. It was really funny. It was really, really light. And by the end, she's kind of came clean about all of her, like, her Instagram curation. And she creates a new Instagram account called My Not So Perfect Life. And invites people to send in, you know, pictures of the ridiculous things they have to deal with. You know, instead of, like, the pretty picture of the skyline, like, hey, here's, you know, the pizza rat on my walk to work or whatever. New York City, I don't know if you guys remember that, but
I remember Pizza Rat.
Yeah, Pizza Rat. It's funny. So that's my first one. The second book is called, and I'm gonna wait for the thing because I always add words to it. It's by Nikki Drayden, and it's The Prey of Gods. For some reason, I always put the in a different spot. I picked this book because it's insane. I don't even know that I can accurately describe this story. There's so much going on in this book that you won't be able to focus on your broken heart because you're going to be too busy trying to figure out what is happening in this crazy story. So The Prey of Gods is set in South Africa in the kind of not so distant future. It's future, but it's not crazy far away. But it follows several different characters, and it's told from their perspectives, and it kind of weaves in and out of the different characters. And you have one character who he's young, and he's not real sure about his sexuality, but he comes from this, like, super traditional family, and his grandfather really, really wants him to go through these like, tribal traditions, and he wants him to keep up all these traditions, and he's like, I don't even know. And then you have a couple other characters, like a really, really poor girl in a village who, like, the village doesn't have running water. You have this other person who's a manicurist, but she might also be an ancient god. And then intertwined there, you also have robots that are gaining sentience. And it sounds crazy because it is. But you have all these characters and these weird little things, and they seem like they're so different, and then they start kind of coming together. And the story weaves African folklore with science fiction, with magic, with gods, and it's insane. And this is a debut novel, so how this author was able to take all of this stuff and pack it into this one book and do it so well that she's magic of some sort, I'm pretty sure. But it's amazing. If you like science fiction, it's got that, because it's got these robots that are becoming sentient and deciding to uprise. Always a good time. You've got, you've got the folklore, you've got the magic. There's something for everyone. There's another character who is a prominent politician, but he doesn't want, he does, like, he wants to be a politician, he wants to be successful, but what he wants more than anything is to continue his drag show, because that's where he's happy. It's just crazy how much is packed into this book, and it's so well done, and it's so entertaining, and there's so much going on that even with a broken heart, you're not going to be able to focus on your broken heart, because you've got to try to figure out what is happening in here, and what did I just read, and why am I commiserating with a robot as much as I am. It's just, I love this book. It was one of the best books I read last year, and it's just bizarrely wonderful, and highly recommend it.
Nice. Thanks, Jen. And let's have Jody share her books for a broken heart.
Okay, so mine's different from everybody else's. So I went literal at the beginning. Fix a broken heart by following the DASH diet Mediterranean solution. How's that sound?
Yeah.
You can tell my age by what my topics are for picking a book to mend a broken heart. But for 9 years in a row now, the Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet have ranked #1 and 2 on U.S. News and World Report's top diets. So why not combine the two? There's a new DASH diet book that's all about following the Mediterranean eating plan. And Mediterranean eating creates overall balance and overall health. The DASH diet's about lowering blood pressure. So all of those things obviously are going to be good for your heart, whether it's broken or not. So this particular book, the DASH Diet Mediterranean Solution, presents a delicious new approach. This is, I think this description's from Amazon, a delicious new approach to these super diet plans that highlights the benefit of fresh whole foods, unprocessed or minimally processed, additive-free, no artificial sweeteners, even more heart healthy, and promotes healthy weight loss and maintenance, supports both vegetarian and meat eaters. And it says the author, who is an MS and RD. What does that stand for? Master of Science and something, dietitian, registered dietitian.
Yeah.
I should have known what those things meant. Has reconfigured the Mediterranean and DASH plans to reflect the latest cutting-edge research on hypertension, diabetes, depression, metabolic syndrome, cognition, arteriosclerosis, and other health issues that impact millions of Americans. And the book includes meal planning with week-long menu plans and over 50 exclusive fresh recipes. So those meal plans are always the kind of thing that I need if I'm going to use a book to do anything. I do know my mom had high blood pressure, which still amazes me because she's one of the calmest people that I knew. But when she retired from the library system, which I would think is a low stress job, but some days not so much, she ended up with high blood pressure, and her doctor suggested the DASH diet, and she started following that, and like instantly her blood pressure just went down and she didn't have to take medication for it anymore. And so, I mean, I know that it really works. She lost some weight on that as well. And so it's actually on my hold shelf right now, that book is. So I can't speak to whether or not, you know, it's really working yet, because it was on, I had to put a hold on it. So, you know, but hopefully it will. We'll see what happens. I don't have high blood pressure. I will say that, but the inflammation in our, that's one of the things I'm looking at, because I have some arthritis starting, and you've got to do something to fix that, right? So so I went literal. There's one with how to mend a broken heart. And then immediately with the broken heart, the other thing I thought of was the series of unfortunate events. So, you know, this is I didn't even look up how long ago those were first written. They've been around for a long time though, because my oldest is almost 27, and I feel like he read those when he was at that age. Highly recommend the audio version because Tim Curry reads it, and Tim Curry is just amazing and so fun to listen to. And we do have those available as downloadables and in CD versions. The author, Lemony Snicket, actually reads one version of those, and then Tim Curry reads a different version. So you will want to watch. The worst thing is to mix and match. You can't mix and match. If you start with one reader, you got to stick with that one reader, because but anyway, if you haven't heard of the series of unfortunate events, let's see, where did it's a juvenile fiction series about the Baudelaire children who, at the beginning of the very first book, which is called The Bad Beginning, are left orphaned and homeless when their parents both perish in a fire that destroys their home and all of their belongings. Violet, Klaus, and Sonny are sent to live with a distant relative, Count Olaf, who is set on doing everything he can to get his hands on the Baudelaire fortune. Violet, who wants to be a mechanical engineer, is good at fixing things and making them better. Klaus is an avid reader interested in the natural world and science, and Sonny is still a toddler and is particularly good at biting things. The important thing is that they stay together and learn to use their individual talents to escape many harrowing events throughout the series, and eventually, as time does, their hearts begin to heal from the loss of their parents and their home. So I guess I just felt like, you know, the ultimate broken hearts, Violet, Klaus, and Sonny losing both their parents and their home at the same time, and then all these terrible things happen to them throughout the series, but they just keep using their natural gifts and relying on each other. And I think family obviously is one of the things you should always be able to lean on. So that was my thought about mending a broken heart. And it's so fun to listen to. I'm listening to The Bad Beginning again right now, and it's entertaining, so it'll help. Even though it's about terrible things, it still helps with the spirit. He says right at the beginning, if you like books that are happy, then you really should put this one down and pick up a different one. Something to that effect, you know.
They're such good stories.
Yeah,
they're really good.
They are fun.
Great audios. Thank you, Jody. And for mine, my first one is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. And this one, I'm going to start off with a blurb from the book itself. And it says, between life and death, there is a library. And within that library, the shelves go on forever. Every book provides a chance to try another life that you could have lived, to see how things would be if you had made other choices. Would you have done anything different if you had the chance to undo your regrets? And so in this one, it takes this metaphor of this library that exists between life and death and turns it into like a real thing. So Nora ends up nearly passing away, and she ends up in the Midnight Library. And the first thing you're given at the Midnight Library is your book of regrets. So however big that is for you, you get that. And then the next thing you do is you go through and you look through the book of regrets and you pick out one of them, whatever it might be. I wish I had not broken up with this kid in high school. And so you pick that one, and then all the shelves shuffle and the book that says, okay, here's what would have happened if you had changed that regret. This is what your life would have looked like. You get that book and you get to start reading that and see what happens in that life. And so Nora is presented with this Midnight Library, and she's in a place in her life where she's regretting a lot. Her book of regrets is really big. And so she tries all sorts of different lives. She tries different career options. She tries different romances. She tries different ways that she treats her family. Just so many different things that you don't always think about that would affect your life. And I will say the book's a little predictable, but it really is a heartwarming book. It is a hopeful book, and it is a book that says, what are you living for? You know, what's keeping you from living the way you want to live every day? What is success for you? You know, if there was a life choice out there where you could have millions of dollars, is that the life choice you would have made if it meant something else would change? If there is a life choice out there where you had, and I don't think this exists, but you had the perfect marriage, would you give up other things in your current life to make that happen? It was just really interesting. It's really well written. It's a super quick read. And I feel like if you're dealing with a broken heart, it's a reminder that there isn't a perfect life. Not a single one out there. The only way to do life is to live it. And sometimes you're going to make the wrong choices, and sometimes you're going to make the right choices, and sometimes you won't ever know which one was which. But you keep living it, you keep loving the people that you love, and you keep going. And I just thought that it was a thoughtful book, it was uplifting, and if you need something that says, give you some hope for the next thing in your life, this one will do it. Now, I will admit there are some moments in the book that are a little tear-jerky, because there are times when you're like, I wish, you know, I could bring somebody back. Is there a way that I could keep somebody longer in my life? And I really love how the book handles that. It's really good. Pick it up, listen to it. It's good. On a slightly lighter note, my other book is The Rosie Project by, and I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, Graham Simsian, but however you pronounce it, he's a wonderful author. I highly recommend The Rosie Project. If you can listen to it, it's fabulous. And I even went out and looked up the narrator because I enjoyed him so much. His name is Dan O'Grady, and he reads the audiobooks, and he is Australian. And so when you're listening to him, you get that Australian accent all the way through the book. And it's amazing. I could just listen to this lovely man read to me all day. It wouldn't even have to be The Rosie Project. It's just, he's got a lovely voice. But the story itself is about Don Tillman, who is a professor of genetics, and he has never in his entire life gone on a second date. He is now in, I want to say he's in his mid to late 30s. And he's trying to figure this out. He is a man who is very, very logical. He is very, very into schedules, because if you have a schedule, then you can get things done in the least amount of time so that you can get things done efficiently. He's all about efficiency. He has the exact ingredients in his kitchen that he needs to make the meals that he eats every night. You know, he knows how things are done. Whether Don possibly is neurodiverse and could be on the spectrum is kind of suggested in the book, but never defined. But he's definitely different than what we would refer to as normal. But that's not bad. So Don decides to try and figure out this romance thing logically. And he goes through and creates a survey, and I don't remember how many questions are on it, but he figures out that if he gets these answers on this survey, then he will have found his perfect partner. And he labels it the Wife Project. He talks to his couple of friends about it, and they're like, Don, it doesn't actually work that way. And Don's like, I don't know why it wouldn't. I mean, this makes perfect sense. It's got to work this way. Well, in the midst of him starting the Wife Project and starting to meet some of the women who fill out the survey and are willing to meet him, he meets Rosie. And Rosie is almost the exact opposite of Don. She is a wild, free spirit. She's not bound by schedules. She's up for whatever the next thing is. And they meet, and of course, you know, sparks fly, things happen, and they discover that, you know, maybe it isn't on paper that makes the perfect partner. Maybe it's your willingness to give and understand the other person. But in the midst, on the way to getting there, it is hysterical because Don takes everything literally. It's just funny. The audiobook reader is fabulous. I've actually listened to this one twice now because we did it for book club, and I loved it both times. And I root for Don the whole way. If you end up falling in love with Don and Rosie the way I did, there are actually 2 more books in the series, so you can spend more time with the lovely narrator Dan O'Grady reading the book to you. So it's really fun. It's good. If you're feeling sad, it's going to give you hope that while there might not be a perfect person out there, there are a lot of good people out there. And Australian narrator reading to you. Kind of like the whole Tim Curry thing. You know, you can't go wrong with that. So those are, oh, yes.
I was going to say one of my favorite things is listening to Simon Preble is one of the people that I love listening to. He's got a great English accent, and so that Australian accent I'm sure is the same thing. It's on my list. I wrote it down. I got it on my little sticky pad.
And I don't know if he's read other things. I never went and looked it up, but I know he reads that whole trilogy and he was fabulous. So maybe he's read other things out there too. So thank you to all of you for sharing your books for a broken heart during National Mend a Broken Heart Month. And thank you to all of you who listened. Next week, we are going to be talking about our favorite Black authors and illustrators as part of Black History Month. So we'll be doing that next week, and we hope that you'll join us then. Have great weeks. Bye.